Hello and welcome back to Onward with Scott Chesney. Today, I'm quite fortunate to be joined by Kevin Schultes, who's the chairman of FGQ, which is the German Spinal Injury Association. He's a senior consultant to the medical device industry for many, many years, and also a paraplegic himself for the past 27 years. Kevin, how are you today?
Fine, thanks. Thanks, Scott. Thanks for asking.
Thank you so much for joining us. Let's begin with your own personal journey with paralysis for, again, 27 years, takes us back to 1995. Can you take us through that day and then a little bit through the adjustment that you had to make initially and through the years?
Yes, of course, gladly. Yes. Yes, as you said, 27 years ago, that was in beginning of February 1995. I had an accident. I fell from a ladder when I was working, and I fell in a sitting position and broke my first lumbar spine, crushed the first lumbar spine, and a large segment of the spine was pushed into the added pressure on the spinal cord. So it actually, the spinal cord was not kind of cut through, but it was very heavily damaged. But as I was very fortunate to be, or got into hospital very quickly, and they operated on the spine and stabilized my spine, I was fortunate that I have an incomplete paraplegia. So I have movement in my legs, not enough to stand upon my legs and to actually use them to walk, but of course it's helpful when you move from your chair to the bed and things like that. So any movement helps there. And I have to say I had a very good support from my family and friends, and also from peers. And very soon after I had the accident, I also got into contact with the German Spinal Injuries Association, which I noticed helped me a lot. And that has also been, why I, in return, have tried to build up a supporting service to help others, because I know how welcome, people feel to be able to have a peer that can support them, and he or her, she knows from their own experience. So ever since, actually, I've been involved in the Spinal Injuries Association in Germany. I'm a very strong believer that it's important that we kind of work in self-help groups, that we also get involved in research and, product development and so on. And that is something that I've been kind of taking care of the last 27 years.
Kevin, take us through the association because it's so powerful on so many levels, and again,
Mhm.
being quite helpful to you, but then having the
Yes.
experience of living with paralysis, it's given you some insight over the years to broaden the program even more. Tell us about the mission and the wonderful work you're doing there at
Yes.
GQ.
Actually, the Spinal Injuries Association in Germany was started in 1981. And 1981 was already what we call the European Year of the Disabled. So it was not a coincidence, really, that the Spinal Injuries Association was kind of established in that year, because the motto of the European Year for Disabled was not about us, without us, in a kind of rough translation, which means, we want to be involved, we want to take care of our own means. And so when the association started, there were actually three pillars that the work focuses on. We do peer services. We started that right from the beginning. We get involved to kind of improve the living conditions for people with a spinal cord injury, so it's kind of political work. And we also have a network of associations and people we work together with to try and also help with financial and material kind of funding for people that perhaps are not able to cover these expenses from their own means. So we very often, actually I can just tell you the first kind of request we received was a guy who had an accident in his holiday, and he had to be transported back from Spain. And in those days, he had no insurance to cover that. So there was quite a high cost involved. So together with some other associations, we kind of collected the funds that were necessary to bring him back to Germany so that he could be kind of treated in a German spinal injuries unit. And that showed us that that is certainly not only a single case, but there are many people who are in need and need support. And that was right from the beginning one of the ideas that we, as an association, but also through our network, we want to support people financially and also with materials if necessary.
Now you have, am I right about that? Over 4,000 members that are part of your network?
Yes, that is right. Yes, we have 4,000 members. Membership in Germany is available for people with a spinal cord injury, but also for people who want to support our organization. I haven't got the exact numbers, but I think about 3,500 or nearly 3,500 of our members are spinal cord injured themselves. And then we have family members, we have people working in spinal units, and it's a growing community. But it has also proved to be difficult to reach out into this community and get more members. I don't know what it's like in the States, but in Germany, certainly people are quite reluctant to join a kind of self-help group or a group these days. I think it was different many years ago. At some time, I think we had about 6,500 members. So that is, yeah, we've started rebuilding this, but it's a difficult task, I have to admit.
We have the same challenges here in the States, and again, for all different reasons, and just as there are no two spinal cord injuries alike, where somebody might be mentally, physically, or emotionally varies as well. And I know you're reaching out to caregivers as well, and they basically have the same attitude as well, wanting to best support, but not knowing exactly where they are. And I think what happens, and this will lead me into my next question, is that people grow tired with spinal cord injury, and they hear a lot about the research, they hear a lot about what's being offering, and that doesn't come to fruition. I'm going to ask now that and this is going to be a little difficult, Kevin, that you take the paralysis hat off for a minute and put that Medtech hat on, which you have so many years experience. Take us through the dynamics of, how certain therapies and treatments go through research and then hopefully can be handed off to the med tech industry. And so we can clear that, get that to market, get that to the people who are in need, rather than, and again, understanding the importance of clinical trials and so forth, and having that be a part of the protocol. Where do you see like that gap being bridged, so that we can move things and get it to the people who need it most?
I think there are multiple challenges in that respect. First of all, I think it's important that also we as a community get involved in research, not actually doing research ourselves, but being involved in a kind of advisory board and things like that. Because very often I've found that there's a lot of good research being done, but there is a missing link, like an interconnection between all of these groups. And I think this link, could be secured by the spinal cord injured themselves. That is one thing. And the other thing is, I think it's very important that we get involved to kind of, how can I say, put the focus on the right spots, where we believe research is necessary. Because very often I've found that, how can I say, within research groups, there is not necessarily that much knowledge about our living situation and what is, most important for us. So I think it's important that we get involved and we kind of adjust to a certain degree, the research that is being done. And of course, I mean, I've been following research in the field of spinal cord injury ever since I've been in a wheelchair situation myself. Not as much with the expectancy to be able to gain personally from this, because I know it's a very, very long process from basic research, introducing this in the clinical setting, and then obviously going through the clinical trials. So I was never really involved to the degree that I was hoping it might, be something that I could benefit from myself. But I think it's important to secure that research is being done, especially because we are a fairly small group of people. Luckily, of course, luckily there are not that many spinal cord injured, but of course there's much focus in the research field on other topics like diabetes, for instance, which obviously is a much broader group. But nevertheless, I think you can see that the impact of research for our group is tremendous. And I mean, what we have seen also throughout my time with the spinal cord injury, so for 27 years, there has been a lot of improvement in what we can offer these days. And I'm just involved in a new research here in Germany regarding the neurogenic pain that many people with a spinal cord injury experience. And I think that's a very severe topic that we need to take more care of, because that is something that is kind of, bringing down people's quality of life. And so I think it's urgently necessary that we do something there, So yeah, to wrap it all up together. So what I believe is that, research is very important, but we need to kind of support this and also give feedback from our community. So I've been also involved in many advisory boards over the years, and I believe that is one of the roles that the self-help group should take care of, and be more involved and look at kind of linking research groups worldwide. And I think we're not good enough at that yet. I mean, there is we do have a European organization which is not that strongly involved yet in research. We've started, but something we need to extend. But and certainly, like the Cancer Foundation in Canada has been doing a lot in that field. But what we need is a kind of global initiative from the spinal cord injured community to link all of these research groups and to make sure that we receive best benefit from this research.
I could not agree more with you, Kevin. You had an opportunity shortly before the pandemic to connect with ONWARD, who's in the Medtech space
Yes,
and
exactly.
is doing a lot to bring their products and therapies to market. I'm going to ask that you put both your paraplegic and your Medtech hat on and let us know what your initial impressions were. And also, because you did, through your wonderful magazine that we'll talk about in a moment, that you share with your members, is that what their reaction was in sharing that information about ONWARD with them.
Yes, I mean, generally we know that our community is very much interested in what is going on in research. So we like to cover this on a regular level. Nearly all of our magazines have a focus on research. So we're very happy to kind of write about what we learned, what ONWARD has been doing, and I think it's great to see the improvements that have been made, and especially as we can see with ONWARD, the transition from the basic research to clinical trials, and now hopefully benefit for the community, and perhaps even for the first time we have an opportunity to really see progress in that field. I mean, as I said, I've been following research for many years, and there are many really good research subjects that have been taken care of, like in Switzerland. You probably know of that with the NOGO program from Martin Schwab. But as long as I've been following this is being now for over 20 years, it has never really been brought to the clinical setting. And I think that is something which is a great opportunity with ONWARD, that within a few years now, this will be available. And this I'm pretty sure this will have a real impact on the community and bring a lot of improvement along for people. Yeah.
Well, you probably realize that over the years, maybe 10% of an SCI conference would be devoted to spinal stimulation. There
Yes.
was a great symposium there in Louisville, in which the whole symposium was focused on spinal stimulation. So you're right in terms of a few decades and being in clinical trials and proving real good data on what's being done. But I'm very excited for our community in the gap that's been bridged and bringing it to market, and ONWARD's definitely leading that charge. I wanted to ask you what the community thinks as well is of utmost importance these days. I mean, we talk about standing, we talk about walking. I don't think anything that ONWARD is claiming is to replace the wheelchair, obviously, but to improve quality of life. And I know one of those specific subjects that's important to our population, but I know that you're very passionate about and wouldn't necessarily benefit you and myself with regards to being paraplegics, but possibly quadriplegics, is blood pressure regulation. Can you tell us about that a little bit?
Yes, I think it's important that we also shift the focus away from only walking and standing. I think there are a lot more benefits we can gain from the ONWARD program, and I think it's important that we also keep an eye on that, because obviously the ultimate, how can I say, goal for everyone with a spinal cord injury is, to get back the life you had before that happened. Or getting as close as possible to that. But we have to be realistic. We know that this is a very complex process, and bladder, bowel, and there are many other topics, nerve pain, as I mentioned a minute ago. I think it's very positive that ONWARD has a broader approach than only looking at, restoring gait for people, because I think, there are other topics which are worthwhile taking care of. And I've seen, that's what I meant sometimes with us having to give a little bit of advice to research groups. I've seen that the focus has been perhaps too strongly on just walking and restoring gait, but not, looking at these other topics that are kind of getting at quality of life of people with a spinal cord injury.
Absolutely. Kevin, what's the best way for people to learn more about FGQ and also your association, but also if they want to reach out and connect with you? Because again, you
Mm,
have a lot of information to offer. Again, not only living life with paralysis, but
yes.
heading up this association and also all
Mm.
your experience in the med tech space.
Yes, I mean, the best, I think, what we can offer is to kind of help by giving advice from the experience or the background we have. We have 160 peers in Germany. I can't say, probably with a total living experience of nearly 1.5, 2,000 years living with a spinal cord injury. So there's a lot of knowledge there, a lot of kind of experience that has been gained, how to cope with certain problems. And that is what we want to help with, obviously, And for myself, as I'm also involved in the medtech business, and that's what I actually make a living of. So my work within the Spinal Injuries Association is a voluntary position that I have there. It's not only spinal cord injured, so it's a broader. I have other projects in other fields too, but very often, obviously, people and companies want to gain from the experience that I have, from living with a spinal cord injury. So looking at product development, looking at refining products, that is something, that I obviously get involved in. So it has been for bowel irrigation, for instance, or intermittent catheterization. Yes, these are also topics where I've been involved to try and find better solutions, or even improve products that are on the market.
And what's the best contact information? Can they come through the website? Can you give that address?
They can come through the website. So it's fgq.de, for DE is the ending for Germany, like you have common in the States. So DE, and there's all the contact information, so phone, mail, fax, whatever you like to use, on our website. And also through our office, people can gladly get in contact with me if they like. So the mail address would be info@fgq.de. That
Wonderful.
is the best central kind of address, and we have a secretary that takes care of that. And if there's anything, anyone who wants to reach out to me directly, they can gladly go through that address too.
Well, I will tell you this, they're lucky to have you, one, from your personal experience of living with paralysis, but
Mm,
also the many years that you have in terms of speaking to a lot of people and connecting with people,
mm,
both in the clinics and also in
mm,
the industry that you're in. So, Kevin, thank you so much for joining us, and I'm sure
mm.
that we'll have you back here on the program.
Thanks, Scott. It's been my pleasure.